Hello everyone, and welcome to Billy's Place. This is show number 9. Can you believe it? 9 weeks I've been doing this and been having a blast. For those of you who've been here before, welcome back. Great to see you, even though I can't really see you. I've got new friends from all over the world watching the show, from New Zealand, Australia, Japan, England, Ireland, Canada, all across the United States. Hello to everyone, and I know there's people that have been here for every single episode, so thanks for being here again. And welcome to anybody who's new. I hope you enjoy my little show. Stories wrapped up in songs, I like to say. Anyway, I'm excited. I'm always excited about these shows because I prepare for them, and thanks to Roger McGUINN for doing that great promo earlier this week. You know, folks send me their PSAs, if you will, and then I tweak them. You know, I have a degree in motion pictures television, so I add their name and some graphics and this and that. So that's all part of my preparation for this show. So I hope you like all the effort that we put into it. And I had a new graphics person gear up and do my graphics this week, which I think are fantastic. So it's a little team of people, though it looks just simple because it's just me. There are other people that are on my team helping me out. Anyway, having said all that, would you hit your share button so we could get this show out to as many people as we can? That would be super. And what also would be super is, if you're so inclined, if you like my show, if you want to see me continue doing this and going for number 10 next week, I wouldn't mind at all if you hit that PayPal link or the Venmo link and send in whatever you like, in any amount, whenever you like, how often as you like. And a portion of the proceeds will always go to MusiCares, helping musicians in times of need such as this. Yeah, thank you for the folks that have, been so generous over the last 9 weeks. It's really been encouraging and heartwarming, and I really appreciate it. And I'm sure the folks at MusiCares do too. So let's get into it. I got a lot of show. We got a lot of songs, a lot of tales to tell. I like to start my joke with a little humor, as you all know, if you've been here before. So I'll tell you this one, short and sweet. This is for all you English majors and all you mathematicians. What did the English book say to the math book? You got problems. Hello, my friends. It's good to see you again. Guess it's been a few years since I've been away, but I'm happy to say I'm doing okay myself. I can dig what's happening, and every day there is something new. That hey, good things are coming my way. So tell me, how have you been? There's so much you gotta tell me. Let's talk about them good old days when we laugh and say, hey, hey, man, you're okay. Let's take it nice and easy now. Well, it's a brand new year. Lots of things are happening. Hey, good things are coming my way. Tell me, how have you been? There's so much you gotta tell me. Let's talk about them good old days when we laugh and say, hey, 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 life, okay. Let's take it nice and easy now. Let's get on back to that groove. Stick around for a couple of days, 'cause hey, good things are coming my way. Good things are coming my way. My way. Your way. That's what I say. Our way. Every day. The reason said, I can't stay alone, and I probably feel a whole lot better when you're gone. Oh, when you're gone. Oh, when you're gone. Oh, when you're gone. What do you think about that? Little segue into one of the Byrds' greatest hits. You know, I've got to do a little technical adjustment. I'll be right back and I'll explain. Don't go away. Do you notice how much quieter it is now? There's a reason for that. The door was open to the patio, and there's a little fountain running, and now it's quiet the way I intended it. But you know, my crack crew isn't here because I have no crew. So anyway, that's the reason for that. Apologies, you know, these are the little bumps in the show that we have on occasion. But here's looking at you. Tea, lemonade, spritzer, little lemon. It's my own little concoction, the Billy Boy. Anyway, I want to talk about my buddy, whose name was originally Jim McGUINN, who was a founding member of the Byrds. Now, this group was just the greatest. You might say they were the American Beatles, in a way. They were so innovative. They created really this genre called folk rock. By going electric, Jim played a 12-string Rickenbacker. David Crosby was on 6-string. Gene Clark was the front man with the tambourine. Chris Hillman, great bass player and singer, and Mike Clark on drums. Anyway, incredible group. If you're too young to remember, trust me, they were fantastic. I got to hear them up close and personal for the very first time at Claudia Martin's graduation party. She was 18. It was at the Bel Air Country Club. Not the Bel Air Hotel on Stone Canyon, Bel Air Country Club. Now, mind you, I had heard Buffalo Springfield play at my friend Dina Martin's 16th birthday at the Martins, the one where Dean called the cops on the party and had him shut it down. That was from an earlier episode. Anyway, I got to hear the Byrds just right up close and personal. Of course, I'm a good friend of the Martins, as you probably know, and Terry Melcher, their producer, was seeing Claudia Martin at the time. So there's a whole tie-in of friendships and musical exchanges of ideas. Terry was a great producer, produced Paul Revere and the Raiders, and just, you know, worked with the Beach Boys, on and on. But his first big success, I think, huge success, was with the Byrds and Mr. Tambourine Man. So at this party, they're set up like in just one of the dining room type areas, and they were fantastic. I'm here to tell you, they not only did they sound great, and they were tight, I mean, they were well rehearsed, but their harmonies were beautiful, and what a blend, beautiful blend. And they pretty much had 3 or 4 lead singers, but even though Gene would take a lot of the leads, like that last song, Feel a Whole Lot Better, McGUINN refers to it as, oh, that's one of Gene's songs, you know, because Gene sang the lead. Anyway, when they took a break, I took the liberty of getting a little, maybe too close to the equipment, and I broke the cardinal rule of musicians. You don't touch another musician's instrument, certainly without his permission, but I did. I couldn't resist. I picked up McGUINN's beautiful 360 12-string, and I held it for a moment, and I think I might have even strummed a D chord, and he walks into the room and sees me holding his guitar. Oh my gosh, I cannot tell you how mortified I was. Absolutely humiliated. Did not know what to say, but he was really cool about it, and he could tell, I think, by my expression how much I was admiring the guitar. I was a Rickenbacker player myself. I had a 12-string too, so we had that in common. And I know that he knew of my group, Dino, Dizzy, and Billy, because we all came up right around the same time, 64, 65, you know. We did the Hollywood Bowl together, you know. So there was a mutual respect, I feel, between the two of us. And what's so interesting is that, well, a couple of years later, he changed his name to Roger. He had this interest in all manner of things, science fiction, and he was a walkie-talkie guy and a shortwave radio guy, you know, and the word Roger, you know, as in yes or got that, was something that appealed to him. He had submitted a bunch of names to his spiritual teacher who advised using a name, not Jim, but with the letter R in it. So long story even longer, because the word Roger sort of had a nice vibration to it, if you will, he ended up calling himself Roger. When I was still in grammar school and Dino, Desi, and I were just knocking around, we played a little talent show in the basement cafeteria. Maybe some of my viewers from BHCS will remember this. And we just had a handful of songs, but there was one girl in particular who was really into it. Her name was Linda Gilbert. She was one class older, and she was like a very hip young girl, I remember. She stood out a little from all the others. I remember that very well. More mature, you might say, than the others. And when Dino, Disney, and Billy started to get fan mail, I got a lot of fan mail at my home, because in those days, you could print your home address and, you know, no one would bug you. This is, you know, 64, 65. So my parents asked Linda if she would help answer my fan mail, because just between you and me, I wasn't answering all of it. My mother would answer some of the letters. And so Linda came in after school, I guess, and helped, you know, get through all this fan mail that we were getting. So we were good friends back then. And here's the punchline to all this. She ended up marrying Roger McGUINN. Small world, right? So, pretty amazing. And I got to know them real well, you know. I spent a lot of time with them. They lived in Malibu, up in the hills, up. I think it was a Big Rock. And they had a beautiful, like, ranch-style home. Of course, there was a very steep driveway, and naturally, Roger had the closed-circuit camera and the electric gate, and, you know, who's there kind of a thing. And, you know, he drove a big, beautiful chocolate brown Mercedes, and his license plate was Byrds 1. You gotta love it, right? Well, anyway, we spent a lot of time up there and had a good old time. And he loved his gadgets. He would always have the latest cutting edge gadget, whether it was a police scanner or a you know, the newest Swiss Army knife. He wore an army belt where he could attach stuff to it, or some gizmo that I had no idea what it was. But Roger understood, because he was into that. He was an electronics guy, and he just loved all that stuff. I'm sure you know people like that. And I remember this one time he showed me this laser that was enclosed in a long rectangular box, a silver box that Peter Fonda, the actor, had given him. You know, Henry Fonda's son, Peter being the star. He actually wrote, and he might have even directed Easy Rider. Or did Dennis Hopper direct it? I don't remember. But anyway, Fonda had given Roger this laser. Then he says, come on outside, let me show you something. So we went out on his lawn outside his bedroom, and there was down towards Pacific Coast Highway, there was a fire station. And this thing was like a bazooka, and he would point the beam at the fire station. And he said, watch this. And he'd point it, and he'd move it around, and he'd aim the beam at the walls and then onto the fire truck itself. And sure enough, all the firemen started scrambling around because they didn't know what it was. I mean, nobody knew what it was. Nobody knew what a laser was, much less that somebody owned one and was pointing it at them. That was Roger's idea of fun, and it was, you know, it was far out, you know. And I met some interesting people there. One day, Donovan was there, Donovan Leach. If you're of a certain age, you'll know who I'm talking about. And he gave me what I call the Donovan handshake. That being, you know, I extended my hand, so nice to meet you. And he gave me his left hand, thus the Donovan handshake. But I just love this song of his. In the chilly hours and minutes of uncertainty, I want to be in the warm heart of your love and mine. To feel you all around me and to take your hand along the sand. Ah, but I may as well try and catch the wind. For me to love you now would be the sweetest thing. It would make me sing. Ah, but I may as well try and catch the wind. Isn't that a lovely song? Anyway, during many of our conversations with me and Roger, he told me, we were talking about 8 Miles High, the Byrds hit, big hit, and he was going, 8 miles isn't really that high altitude-wise. I mean, if you're in an airplane, if you're in a jet, you're flying above 30,000 feet, 32, 36,000 feet. So I got his point, because 8 miles is 5,280, times, it's like 42,000 feet. So, yeah. But, of course, most people thought of the meaning of 8 Miles High as something completely other than that. And who knows? Maybe it was. Roger was just so interesting. And, I should point out that, and I mentioned this in a previous episode, but I think it's worth mentioning, when they did Mr. Tambourine Man, hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. See those accents that they put in there? They lifted the concept for the feel from, well, it's been building up inside of me for, I don't know how long. I don't know why, but I keep thinking something's bound to go wrong. Well, that was Don't Worry Baby, of course, the Beach Boys. And so, there was a mutual respect, absolutely, for the Beach Boys. And, the Beach Boys had to love the Byrds because they were so darn good. And they shared another thing in common. I got to mention my buddy Guy Webster. Just one of the great, I think the first of the great rock and roll photographers, at least on the West Coast. Guy did the Byrds, the Beach Boys, the Mamas and Papas, Paul Revere and the Raiders, and may I say, Dino, Desi, and Billy. Oh yeah, we were right in there with all the 60s groups because we were a 60s group. And so I wanted to acknowledge Guy because he's no longer with us, but oh man, what an artist he was. And so if you check out the Byrds album cover, the one with the fisheye lens, that was Guy Webster's work. I remember saying to Roger, I was driving up to his home and I was listening to this song that I could have sworn was him. Well, it was Tom Petty, American Girl. Well, when I saw Roger, I said, what do you think about this Tom Petty guy, who was kind of new? What do you think of Tom Petty, man? He's just trying to steal your whole thing, your whole sound. And Roger thought about it for a second, and he said to me very seriously, I think there's room for everyone. And that was very cool. I learned a lesson that day. I think he's right. I think there is room for everyone. And I mentioned in a previous episode, I met Bob Dylan at one of the parties up there. And another thing that happened up at Roger's house is he had a party. I was shooting pool with Gene Clark, the lead singer of the Byrds. And I scratched on the 8-ball, on the break. And I was like, oh, terrible, I owe the table one, and I racked him up again and we started playing again. And afterwards, Linda McGUINN, my friend, said, do you know who you were playing pool with? I said, yeah, that was Gene Clark. She goes, yeah, do you know what kind of a temper he has? He's part Indian and he carries a Bowie knife with him. He said, she said, if you had said or done the wrong thing, he might have stabbed you. And I'm like, well, thank God I didn't say or do the wrong thing, because, you know, it was fine. But it was kind of a funny moment. I've got to tell you about, I want to play another song. Another one of my favorite Byrds songs. So you want to be a rock and roll star? Well, listen now to what I say. Just get an electric guitar, take some time to learn how to play. And when your hair's combed right and your pants are tight, it's gonna be alright. And then it's time to go downtown to the agent man who won't let you down. Sell your soul to the company who's all waiting there to sell plastic ware. La 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 la. But what you pay for your riches and fame, was it all a strange game? You're a little insane. The money that came in the public acclaim. Don't forget what you are. You're a rock and roll star. Yeah, what a song. If you remember that, they had Hugh Masekela come in and play trompeta on that, and what a innovative sound. That's the thing with Roger, was that he combined not only just folk rock, but he was drawing on influence of jazz and Coltrane and, you know, Indian music, far eastern Indian music, you know. You know, turn. I mean, they had all these, you know, resonating notes and, you know, like a sitar sound to it. Well, Roger, you know, played with a flat pick like I do, but he also had some finger picks on these fingers from which to pluck. He was very adept, and he was a good banjo player and just incredible musician. He inspired by the Beatles, like so many of us were, when he saw Hard Day's Night, in his case in particular. He said, that's when I knew I wanted to do this and get a Rickenbacker and be a rock and roll star, really. And he got to know George Harrison pretty well. He's told me he went to see George about once every year. George had a home in Hawaii in Hana, and he said George was great. He's a little bit out of touch, you know, with reality, if you will, you know, our reality, the rest of the world reality. Well, you know, being up there in Hana, that's pretty isolating to be up there. So anyway, Roger's just an icon to me. He's a hero to me, and been a great friend to me. He was on the Bob Dylan Rolling Thunder tour of 75-76 with Joan Baez, and that's some pretty far out footage. It's been re-released, I think, lately. And then lo and behold, Roger would open for the Beach Boys down the line as a solo. Literally come out, no band, just him and the Rickenbacker. And slowly over time, after a few shows, the band members, myself and others in the band, would trickle onto stage, and, you know, they would join Roger, basically building a band around him until he had a full-on band playing with him. I remember very well in Chastain, which is in Atlanta, Hotlanta. We did a show there, and he was great. He drove himself around in a rental car, and at the end of that tour, he gave us all little Swiss Army knives, which was really cool. The greatest thing Roger ever did for me, and this is quite great, when I was at UCLA in motion pictures, television, and film school, it was my senior year, 74, and I had a project to do, and it was called Remote, for my TV class, my degree, as part of my degree. And what that was we all had, everybody in the class had to choose a project with which they would do a remote shoot. In other words, not in the studio. We had done TV shows, mock TV shows in the studio. This was, the assignment was to go outside the studio. So I decided I wanted to do a concert on the grounds of the North Campus of UCLA in the art department area, the Sculpture Garden specifically it was called. And so I asked Roger if he would be my talent and do a show on the grounds of UCLA. And he said yes, much to my surprise and delight. And wow, you know, I put together a kickin' band for him. The band was Ricky Fataar on drums. Now, if you don't know who Ricky Fataar is, you're not much of a Beach Boy fan, because Ricky was, gosh, maybe Carl's favorite drummer. I don't know. Carl loved him. And he was with the Beach Boys for a number of years. And so Ricky, and he's also a fine singer. So Ricky Fataar on drums, George Seymour on guitar. George was a lead guitarist and singer. And his buddy Barney Cortinez was also in this band that I put together for Roger. Barney was the bass player who also sang. Now, the way I met George and Barney was Carl Wilson and I were going to produce the band that George led called Drivin' Sideways. This was another, you might say this was an offshoot of the Byrds and the band combined. They were great. Drivin' Sideways. And Carl and I wanted to produce them, and we, you know, showcased them for someone at Warner's, and they took a pass, but nonetheless, great musicians. And that stuff is still in the can, and it may still see the light of day. I'm thinking about that. Anyway, so that was Roger's band, and he came out, and I had one camera here on a tripod on wheels, another camera over here on a tripod, and I even called out the cherry picker. They pushed this big old weighted cherry picker out to the, you know, the area, and we put a camera on that, the guy in a bucket, you know. So I had a 3-camera shoot, and my switcher, which is the thing where, you know, you choose the camera and you have a guy sitting next to you, your, I guess, TD, technical director, sitting next to you, or the switcher, and we shot that. I called the shots, and we did that whole thing, and I uncovered and discovered all that footage. It was videotaped, by the way, a big old reel-to-reel machine. I still have that footage, and I looked at it, and it just is as great as the day we shot it. It's got a certain warmth to it. You know, like analog records have a certain warmth and quality. Well, this stuff also had that kind of beautiful visual warmth. Anyway, and so for that I thank Roger, because, you know, it helped gain my degree from UCLA, of which I'm ever thankful. Oh, I like to say that, you know, the Byrds, they begat so many groups, from Poco to Souther, Hillman, and Furay, and gosh, right on down the line, and, you know, the Eagles, I think, certainly, and along the way, Crosby, Stills, and Nash. They were very big. That's an understatement. In around 1969. So the same year that Jimmy Page was rocking out with Led Zeppelin, Crosby, Stills, and Nash were bringing it way down with their folk, you know, well, folk rock once again, but with their own spin. And, you know, they were all so talented. My gosh, writers, singers, you name it. Here's something I want you guys to know that's pretty cool. Nobody knows this. Stephen Stills used to count off the songs, both in Buffalo Springfield and in Crosby, Stills, and Nash, by doing like this. Then he'd go into the song. And, you know, Buffalo Springfield used to open for the Beach Boys. I have a saying that everyone's open for the Beach Boys at one time or another, because I think it's true. And I went on a tour in the late 60s just to have fun, just to hang out. I was rooming with Dennis, so you can imagine how much fun we had. And I got to observe Buffalo Springfield and Stephen Stills and that whole crew, you know, Neil Young Richie Furay and all the rest. And yeah, Stills would count off a song like this by hitting the strings of his electric guitar, and it created sort of an overtone. And Carl Wilson picked up on that, and from then on, that's how Carl would count in a song. I don't think any of my bandmates even know that, so this is something it's pretty cool to hear. I hope you think that's an interesting fact. Anyway, Stills. When you're down and confused and you don't remember who you're talking to, the concentration will slip away, because your baby is so far away. And there's a rose in a fisted glove, and an eagle flies with a dove. And if you can be with the one you love, honey, love the one you're with, love the one you're with. So, great writer. Anyway, on that tour, I remember being with Dennis in the room that we shared, and the door was open. This was after the show one night, and Stills walks up and knocks on the door. Hey, Dennis, you want to go out? And he was all bundled up, like in like a big parka, just furry thing, just ready for real cold weather. I guess we were, Wisconsin, or I don't remember where, but anyway, Dennis was like, "Oh no, man, go ahead. I'll catch up with you later." But Stills wanted to hang out with Dennis. He didn't care so much about me, but I understood that. So anyway, Dennis and I went out later on that evening. I believe he met a young lady at the restaurant, the waitress specifically, and well, use your imagination, Dennis is the only guy I know whose waterbed had white caps. Just kidding. He didn't own a waterbed. But anyway, so there's Stills, the great writer. Crosby, we know, is fantastic. He's been in the Byrds, great singer. Then we throw Graham Nash into the mix, who was with the Hollies, the British group, incredible group, another harmony group. Hey, Carrie Ann, what's your game now? Can anybody play? Hey, Carrie Ann, what's your game now? Can anybody play? And these guys just wrote some great songs. I'll try to play a few of them for you here. Helplessly hoping her harlequin hovers nearby, waiting her word, gasping at glimpses of gentle true spirit. He runs, wishing he could fly high, only to trip on the sound of goodbye. There are one person, there are two, no, there are three together, there are four each other. And Graham wrote some pretty good songs himself. Our house is a very, very, very fine house with two cats in the yard. Life used to be so hard, now everything is easy because of you. I light the fire while you place the flowers in the vase that you bought today. And Neil comes in. Oh, we add Neil Young to the mix. So it's now Crosby steals the cash and runs. I mean, Crosby steals Nash and Young. And he comes up with 10 soldiers and Nixon coming. We're finally on our own. This songwriters, great singers. And now I'm going to do something for you. I want to demonstrate. I don't like doing this, especially with a 12-string, but I'm going to do it for you. Special for you tonight. This is something that Carl Wilson showed me. He loved this song, and he showed me how to do this. Watch this. I've just tuned my low E string to a low D. So we've got D there. Hear how much fuller that is now? And I've never known Carl to mess with modal tunings and such, and I certainly didn't understand it, but he says, Bill, you got to check this out. Well, there's a woman that you ought to know, and she's darling, singing soft and low, singing rock and roll. She's a Jordan. Well, Carl was so enamored of that song that, as you hardcore Beach Boy fans know, the Beach Boys opened with that song on a number of shows. One in particular you can still find on YouTube. I believe it was Czechoslovakia. And, you know, very great song, and very great songwriter, and very great group. Jeez. I remember on that same tour with Buffalo Springfield opening for the Beach Boys, where Stills came by to say hi to Dennis. The next day, Carl and I were having breakfast, and maybe Dennis was there too, and Neil Young sat down with us, and such an interesting guy, and he was telling us about, he was working on a song in some very obscure, odd, never known to me before time signature. It wasn't a straight 4/4 time signature or a 3/4 time, which is a waltz time signature, but it was something like 9/10 or 10/14, something really out there. And I thought to myself, wow, this guy is into it. I mean, he's special. He's got some great ideas. I mean, I don't know what that song is, but anyway, there came a time when the Beach Boys opened for Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. They had, I don't know whether resurgence would be the right word, but in 1974, the ticket demand for them was so high that, you know, they had to do it. They did one of the first early stadium tours. Well, of course, Led Zeppelin had previously, but for Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, this is their first stadium tour. And I'm talking about baseball stadiums, football stadiums, you know, Milwaukee, Texas, Mile High Stadium. I remember that's in Denver. I remember seeing Dennis and Crosby talking, and they were both ship owners. You know, they love the ocean, both of them, and they both had sailboats, and they were comparing notes on their respective ships. And I gotta say, unlike the Beachago tour, you know, Beach Boys in Chicago, where there's all kinds of, hey, come on over, and, you know, come over out to my room after the show. With these guys, it was not like that at all. There was not that buddy-buddy feeling going on between the groups. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we were all friendly enough with one another, but there was a definite separation that was unlike the Beachago tour. But anyway, it was very exciting, of course, to be on such a major tour with them. And my gosh, they had more guitars than I have ever seen. You know, the Beach Boys had a good share, and other groups that I'd seen along the way. But my gosh, between Crosby, Stills, and Nash and Young, they're all guitar players. The acoustics and the electrics and the flying V's and the white Falcons and the 12-string acoustic Martins and Neil's Gretsch and you name it. It was really something. So I got to tell you this story. I got to take a sip of my drinky poo first. Here's to you. So the show is Jesse Colin Young, Joni Mitchell, Beach Boys, Crosby, Stills, Nash Young. This is at Roosevelt Raceway, Long Island, New York. Not to be confused with Roosevelt Stadium, which Beach Boys had also played, but that's another story for another time. So anyway, Beach Boys, I think we caught a little bit of Jesse Colin Young's set and Joni Mitchell. I think it was one of those shows where you really had to get there kind of early before you played because there were like 70,000 people. I put a photo up on my Facebook page of the crowd, an aerial view, and I also put up a picture of the poster for the show, so you might want to check that out to see what I'm referring to. But so we watched them perform, and they were fantastic. They always were. And the crowd was enormous and very receptive, and it was really their crowd, Crosby, Stills, Nash Young's crowd. So, okay, show's over. We're on our way to the airport. I'm in a van with Dennis and some of the other guys, maybe the crew, maybe some of the band guys. I don't remember exactly. And we're on the freeway, and we look over, and it's like, oh, look, there's Graham. And he's in a rental car in the back seat behind the driver, and whoever he's with. And, we're waving back and forth, and Dennis sees him, and Dennis, being Dennis, goes like this, hey, why don't we all drop our pants and stick our butts against the window? And so, Dennis could convince you to do just about anything. He was that kind of a guy. And so we all did, there must have been 5 of us, and we drop our pants and we, get up there and we put our butts up against the window, and we're all laughing and we look at Graham and he's all laughing, of course, and it's hysterical, only Dennis, right? So we get to the airport and, we all congregate in the area in front of the airport, and here comes Graham. Hey Graham, what'd you think? Oh, that was great. He loved it, and he said, I'd never seen that before, apparently they didn't do that sort of thing in England. So anyway, it went over very well. So now, fade out, fade in, literally 25 years later, my dear friend Fred Wallachy, who owned a music store, and for generations his family did, they were going through a transition period of time, and there was a big concert benefit held for Fred, but also there was a little party at his store. The concert was at Santa Monica Civic. In fact, everybody showed up. I mean, Ry Cooder was in the house band, Wicks from McCartney's band, and others, great players in the band. I mean, Linda Ronstadt performed, Don Henley, and one of the big gets was the Byrds reunited, which nobody thought that would ever happen. Anyway, I'm looking at the clock, and I was going to try to bring the show in at 45 minutes, but I'm going long again. I hope you guys don't mind. But I'm almost at the end of my show, but I wanted to tell you this great story. So I see Graham at the party for Fred. First I see Jackson Browne. I say hello to him, and of course I knew Jackson from Carl and myself singing on the Warren Zevon song that he produced for Warren, Desperados Under the Eaves, that Bob Dylan just referenced. But anyway, so then I see Graham, and I go over to him, and I'm with Justin Wilson, Carl's son, and I say, Justin, wait here, I want to say hi to Graham first, and then I'm going to bring you over to meet him. So I said, Graham, Billy Hinsche, we met years ago. I played with the Beach Boys, and we worked together. And, oh yeah, Billy, how are you? I said, great. I said, listen, do you remember that show we did at Roosevelt Raceway? He said, yeah, I do. And I said, do you remember when we were on the way to the airport and we all dropped our trousers and pressed our butts against the window? And he said, yes, I do. And he started laughing, and then he thought for a minute, and he said, it was the Beach Boy Moon. And I said, the Beach Boy Moon, wow. And I thought about it later. First I introduced Justin to Graham, and I said to Justin later, I said to Graham, this is Carl Wilson's son, Justin. And I said to Justin later, you know, Graham is the Carl of his group. And I think Justin got my meaning. What I meant was, to me, Graham was the most level-headed, grounded, mellow, sensible of the group. But anyway, so that what Graham had said stuck in my head, the Beach Boy Moon. And I got in my car and I said, you know, I was trying to write a book, and chapters of a book. I said, that would be a great chapter title, The Beach Boy Moon. And I could tell the story of this concert and going to the airport and all this funny stuff. And then I got home and I went one better, and I wrote a song, and I called it Under a Beach Boy Moon. Isn't that a great song title? I think it was. Anyway, this is many years ago, and I'm going to play it for you now. I'm going to take a little sip, and then I'm going to play it for you. And it goes like this. Well, I just had a dream, I don't know what it means, and I really don't care. I was out on a beach, it was just within reach, it could be anywhere. Well, I'd sure like to be where the sand and the sea come together again. I think I'll call up my pals and a couple of gals, and then my friend, under a Beach Boy moon, we'll sing Brian Wilson tunes. We don't need an umbrella, orange or yellow, with sunny side up in June, under a Beach Boy moon. Well, I'm sitting here thinking, just a nodding and blinking, talking right out loud. There's got to be a way to take a holiday, hook up with my old crowd. We'll head on down to the shore, and I'll tell you what's more, we just might make some new friends. Oh, after twilight time, we'll let the party begin again. Under a Beach Boy moon, we'll sing Brian Wilson tunes. We don't need an umbrella, orange or yellow, the surf's coming up real soon. Under a Beach Boy moon. Now I got me a plan, I'm gonna work on my tan until the sun goes down. I'm gonna lie on my back next to a little grass shack until I'm golden brown. We'll have a barbecue out on the sandy dunes, we'll bring some burgers and buns. We'll have a couple of laughs and then join in with everyone. What fun! Under a Beach Boy moon, we'll sing Brian Wilson tunes. I'll tell all the fellas to bring the marshmallows, the flowers will be in bloom. Under a Beach Boy moon, we don't need our umbrellas, red, green, or yellows. I hope to see you soon. Under a Beach Boy moon. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. What you think? Well, a good buddy of mine, John Hunter Phillips, did a incredible version of that song. Desi and I took a crack at it, but it didn't do what I wanted it to do. But John Hunter Phillips did the most wonderful version. I want you to go check it out on YouTube. It's on his album, It's About Time. And you listen to that and you'll understand what I'm talking about. What a great version he did. Anyway, to wrap things up, Crosby, Stills, and Young recently sang on Al Jardine's Postcard from California project. They did a remake of the Beach Boys' California Saga, and the Brian Wilson Band has done Neil Young's Bridge School events. So, you know, it's still a family of friends and music, and which is the way it should be. So, in conclusion, I hope you've had a good time. I've gone long again. I don't care. I've had a blast. And if you like the show, tell a friend. And furthermore, hit that PayPal button, the Venmo button, send something in. Anything is appreciated. We'll keep those lights on and the home fires burning, folks. And a portion of the proceeds will go to MusiCares, helping musicians. I'm going to leave you with this. Positivity every day. Positivity in every way. Positivity is what I need. Positivity, yes indeed. Alright, positivity throughout the day. Positivity, that's what I say. Positivity is my friend. Positivity through thick and thin. Look out, positivity is good for my soul. Positivity for young and old. Positivity for everyone. Positivity, we've just begun. Alright, come on, here we go. Alright. Alright, everybody, let's stay positive. What you think? And I wish only the best things that life can bring you. I hope to see you again. Good night.